Do I need to be on mute right now? Can't hear anything.
I can hear you.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
So should I be on mute during this part?
I don't think it matters, Liz.
Okay, thank you.
You're good. We're about to start.
I can only see Sherry, Denise, and Mark. Am I supposed to be able to see everybody else right now? Oops.
Liz,
Yep.
there's a setting up in the right-hand corner that has little dots that'll let you change the view of your screen to a big block, so it kind of looks like the Brady Bunch intro.
So I don't see that while the screen is being shared. Usually it's up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
There,
Oh, now
there we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Wow.
So we just can't see Tony. Should we be on mute or no?
Are we?
We
Supposed
are
to be
live
mute?
on YouTube right now, so you can leave it unmuted if you want, but just know that we are live on YouTube right now.
Got
Okay.
it. Thank you.
I can't see you, Carissa. I hear you. There you are.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Sarah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I was muted. I thought we were supposed to stay that way until John changed it. So is everybody ready? Can you nod?
Mm-hmm.
Or can we start? Is this?
I'm waiting for the go ahead from John. Just give me 1 second. Here
Okay,
while I'm
that's
waiting
what
for
I
his
was looking
message to
for.
come through.
Okay.
Yes, you are good to go ahead and get started, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. I call to order this regular business meeting of the Stillwater Area Public School Board of Education on April 19th, 2020. Due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, the Minnesota directive to residents to stay at home, and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting of the Stillwater Area School Board is being conducted in accordance with the Minnesota Statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone or other electronic means. Due to the health pandemic, the school board determined that it is not feasible for at least one board member, the superintendent, or the school's district's legal counsel to be physically present at the regular meeting location, and that it is not feasible for the public to attend this meeting at the regular meeting location due to the health pandemic. Persons may monitor this meeting from a remote location via live stream on YouTube using the link from the school district website. School board members wishing to speak have been asked to raise their hand and wait to be recognized. All votes tonight will be conducted by roll call. Each school board member should wait until their name is called before voting and indicate by saying yes or no clearly, and also use a thumbs up for a yes so we can see. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording will be made available on the school district's website as soon as it is reasonably possible. Thank you. And with that, let's start with a roll call. Sherry?
Chair Stibland,
Here.
Vice Chair Pierson,
Here.
Treasurer Riley,
Here.
Clerk Potachik.
Here.
Director Burns,
Here.
Director Pelletier,
Here.
Director Weisberg.
Here.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So move.
We have a motion to approve the agenda from Mike Potachik. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Shelley Pierson is the second. All in favor of the agenda, raise your right. Oh, we have to do a roll call. Okay, so roll call, please.
For the approval of the agenda, Director Burns,
Aye.
Vice Chair
Say
Pierson,
yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Director Pelletier,
Yes.
Clerk Potachik,
Yes.
Treasurer Riley,
Yes.
Chair Stibland,
Yes.
and Director Weisberg.
Yes.
You have a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. Hang on one moment while I find my page. It's time for the open forum. And I have some things to say about that. So just so you know, board members, tonight we have 3 open forum speakers. Can I just say too that the open forum is an option for school districts. It's not something we're required to do. And I just want to give a huge kudos to John Perry and Carissa Keister, and I think Sherry Scogan and anyone else that was involved for helping to make this work. This is a technical challenge, and I appreciate that we're trying to do it. And so hopefully it goes well. Open forum expectations. The school board meetings will be held electronically until further notice. If you wish to speak to the school board, you'll be able to do so at the start of the school board meeting during open forum. A sign up for the open forum speakers is available online and will be available, from 3 to 4 p.m. on the day of the school board meeting to provide for instructions to connect to the meeting to be sent to speakers. You may sign in only for yourself, no other individuals or groups. The order of the speakers will be established on a first come, first served basis. Due to time limitations, we will limit the number of speakers to 15 for 3 minutes each. You will need the ability to join the meeting electronically either by phone or online. You will receive instructions joining the meeting 30 to 60 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. If you wish to speak to the school board, you will be able to do so at the start of the meeting during open forum. If you spoke at the last meeting, please consider allowing others to speak before you. Stillwater Area School District welcomes input from citizens as community involvement fosters better decision-making and improved learning experiences for all students. While comments and questions are welcome during open forum, law prohibits the board from discussing concerns about individual employees or students in a public meeting. We will stop the proceedings immediately if employee or student privacy issues are raised and direct the speaker to forward comments regarding individual employees or students to the superintendent. Because we are modeling civil discourse for our community, speakers must present their testimony in a respectful manner. Vulgarity, character attacks, and malice of specific complaints identifying staff or students by name or implication will not be permitted. The board will not deliberate, discuss, or engage in conversations with speakers during open forum. However, the board may ask administration to review the concerns presented. And with that, we are ready for our first speaker.
And our first speaker is going to be Melanie Zoller. And I know John will be letting her in, so we should be seeing her pop in here momentarily.
Hi, Melanie, can you hear me? I think you might be on mute. Can you unmute?
She's not muted. We're not getting a microphone for Melanie. Can you try again, Melanie?
Can you hear me, Melanie? Okay, we're not getting sound from you.
Melanie, is there anything else that you can try? Oh, it looks like you're trying to connect to audio right now.
There you
Okay,
go.
Melanie, do you want to try again?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Melanie.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. Melanie Zoller, downtown Stillwater. Board Chair Stivlin, board members, I'm going to read an editorial by an individual that has attended many school board meetings over the past year. I did receive permission to read it tonight. This editorial was written based on attending presentations by administration during January and February of this year. You may have missed it, and I believe that it perfectly sums up the disrespect that this board endures from administration that is unprofessional, childish, and reeks of insubordination. To the editor, disrespectful behavior is unnecessary. Stillwater is where I resided for 50 years. It's my hometown. It's where I raised my children and where my children and grandchildren reside. I was also a manager of a financial institution in Stillwater for 25 years, as well as 10 years in another city. From a manager's perspective, I feel compelled to speak out about concerns I have after having attended school board meetings for District 834. I've attended a handful of school board meetings in the past year and a half and have walked out of some meetings feeling totally appalled. I've been amazed by the lack of respect shown to the school board by some members of administration and staff. As a former manager, I have managed a variety of personalities. No matter the personality, respect was required and was necessary for a healthy workplace. As a manager, poor behavior on the part of your staff reflects poorly upon your own performance. My staff experienced several acquisitions by large corporations over the years. With those acquisitions came changes to the way we operated. Staff had plenty of reason and opportunity to oppose upper management. However, as a team, my staff and I found ways to work constructively and respectfully. Over my 35-year career, I gave hundreds of presentations and have been asked thousands of questions. Questions were encouraged and answers were given in a respectful manner. At some of the school board meetings I've attended, questions by the board directed to administration and staff seem to be seen as a threat and answers are given in a defensive manner. I would encourage management, specifically the superintendent, to put an end to this behavior as it reflects poorly upon herself. If there isn't one already, I would also encourage a code of conduct be put in place and signed yearly by administration and staff. If there is a code of conduct already in existence, it needs to be revisited. Disrespectful behavior is unnecessary and impedes upon progress being made. It needs to stop.
Thank you very much. And so we'll say goodbye to Melanie and we're ready for our next speaker then. Carissa, can you help with that?
Yes, our next speaker is just signing in. It will be Sandy Hayner. It'll take us just a
Okay.
moment to get her here. Bear with us a moment. She was just coming in and our third speaker hasn't come in yet. So we might have just a bit of a delay too. And we'll see if we can get that person on as well.
Okay.
Can I ask, maybe I missed this before, but are we doing any kind of time to let them know where they're at with their time?
I
Yes,
believe
Sherry.
Sherry.
Yes, Sherry is keeping. Sorry.
Okay, so they can see it. So they can see it even if I can't see it. Is that
No, I am doing it like I typically do on my phone. And once it goes off, I'll put it next to my
okay?
mouthpiece so that Sarah can hear it.
Got it. Thank you.
And I apologize for the delay here. I think our next speaker is here. Can I just waiting for John to verify? He gave me the 1 sec notice. So here we go. Maybe 20 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you all for your patience. And I apologize, it's actually Denise Stevens, and she is here now. So I believe there she is. Here's Denise.
Okay. Hi, Denise. Can you hear us? Denise, can you hear us? There we go. Hi, Denise. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, finally. Operator.
Awesome. Great. It's a little challenging. We're all learning. Welcome. Go ahead. Anytime.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Denise Stevens and I live in Lake Elmo. Chair Stivlin and board members, I'm a resident of ISD 834 and have been for 45 years. Raised 4 children and who attended Stillwater schools, and I currently have 3 grandchildren who are Stillwater students. I'm here today because I wrote a letter to the board on April 6, 2020. Although more than 900 people have seen a copy of that letter on Facebook, I haven't yet received a reply from you, Chair Stivlin, so I assume you may not have yet seen it. So I will use the rest of my 3 minutes to read the letter to you. Dear ISD Board of Education and Superintendent Pontrelli, this week, 129 concerned citizens signed a petition to show Chair Stivlin and directors Potacek, Weisberg, and Riley the 834 community has no confidence in their leadership and to demand that they resign now. The petition was circulated for 6 days. A copy of the petition with verbatim comments from many of the signers is attached to this letter. The Minnesota School Boards Association states in its standards for school board leadership, the school board as a whole provides leadership to the community on behalf of the school district by conducting its business in a fair, respectful, legal, and responsible manner, unquote. The signers of the petition agree that at the school board meeting of March 19th, 2020, actions taken by majority members Stivlin, Potacek, Weisberg, and Riley violated this MSBA standard. Specifically 2 votes, one to hire a legal investigator with no established timeline or cost, and another to place a key administrator on leave during worldwide pandemic crisis, were not only reckless, but potentially harmful to our ISD 834 students. Dissenting opinions of minority members were forcibly silenced. This community petition has no legal standing and most likely no one will resign because of it. However, its purpose is to document the actions of school board incumbents and candidates and the reactions of your voters. The community demands efficient governance, effective leadership, and fiscal responsibility from the ISD 834 school board. Your oath of office requires it. Our families deserve it. If you wish, you may read a copy of the letter and the petition with all community comments on my Facebook page, Putting 834 Students First. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, and so then are we ready for our 3rd speaker?
We are, yes. So Sandy is ready and should be popping in here in just a second.
Okay.
Sandy, are you here?
I am.
Okay, we have Sandy Hayner on the line for you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, Sandy. You can go ahead
Hi.
anytime you're ready.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just kind of flying off the cuff here, but thank you for your time. I know this whole situation is super weird with Zoom and the open forum, and I'm late and, thing. Okay, so Sandy Hayner, Stillwater, Minnesota. Really, just informally, just wanted to thank the board for the vote on the investigation into, the whole bus garage situation. And I just wanted to express that as a taxpayer, I am grateful that you are looking into that because, as a voter, that is what we put you in the place to do, right? To keep track of everything and make sure everything's on the up and up and to get it all sorted out. So, But as I have shared my thoughts on that, there seem to be some in the community who are pretty vocal about their ideas that kids or people who don't have kids in schools really shouldn't have much to say about this, and keep trying to silence the conversation based on that. And I adamantly disagree with that, considering I think we all know about 80% of your taxpayers do not have students directly in the schools. And so if anything, I would think that the board and the community should probably be twice as worried about what those taxpayers think, since they don't actually have a direct return, right, on those taxes and those investments. So I just think it's important to keep a broader picture in with all of that. And so with that, I keep being told that there's this letter that was passed around to different staff at a few choice schools, and that these teachers and other staff members have signed it, and that they have a vote or they want to express that they have no confidence in our school board. Well, when I looked at that, what I think is interesting is about 47% of those signees are not even district voters, or I guess I don't know if they're taxpayers. They could have rental properties for all I know. But when you look at the numbers, it just doesn't quite add up. Or maybe, what was it, 80? Maybe it was 40. Anyway, whatever the case, it's in 40-some% don't even have, I guess, a stake in the game when it's not their it's not their taxes going towards this investigation, and it's also not the school board that they voted for. So that's akin to me showing up in Hudson and at a city council and saying, well, I don't like your board, and I think that you should change it. That's fine. You know, you can have an opinion, but at the end of the day, it's really the taxpayers and the voters who are looking to the board that we voted in to responsibly take care of our money and our investments, and make sure that everything is done appropriately. So I, as a taxpayer and a voter of this community, regardless of whether I have kids in your district, completely support the investigation, and I encourage you to finish it all the way through until you have all the answers, and we can, you know, as a community, understand what went on, and as a board and, you know, as an admin team together, you guys can get to the root of it, solve it, and move forward in a positive way so we don't end up in this situation again. So I just don't want you to be caving to, you know, a whole bunch of hate mail. And especially, I mean, the teachers are great, and I'm one of them. I went to school for teaching. I'm not saying we don't appreciate teachers. I'm saying when you have people who are not taxpayers telling you how to spend tax dollars, it seems a little silly. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandy. Appreciate it. All right, and that is the end of open forum. If there aren't any other, that's it, right, Carissa?
That is it.
Okay.
Yay, we survived.
Thank you very much. Okay, that worked. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. All right, the next up on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. And so I will need a motion, but first, before we get the motion, I'm going to go ahead and list off all of the items on the consent agenda. Tonight we have item A, the minutes of the March 19th business meeting. Item B is the minutes of the March 19th closed session. C is the disbursement register from March 21 to April 10. D is a human resources personnel report. E is the Lily Lake Elementary fire alarm replacement. F is the Anderson Elementary rooftop and makeup unit replacement. I think that involves air conditioning. And G is the expenditure form for the hiring of interim executive director of finance and operations. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Board Chair Stivlin, if I could, I'd like to just move aside just for a separate attention agenda items or consent agenda items D and G.
Okay. So Director Burns is asking for us to hold back items D and G. All right. Then can I have a motion to approve A, B, C, E, and F?
I move.
I have a motion from Director Potacek. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Director Weisberg? Oh, I saw Director Weisberg's hand go up first, so we'll say that she's the second. All in favor of approving A, B, C, E, and F on the consent agenda? Raise, let's see, we'll need a roll call again. Sherry, can you help us out?
Director Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pierson,
Yes.
Director Pelletier,
Yes.
Clerk Potacek,
Yes.
Treasurer Riley,
Yes.
Chair Stivland,
Yes.
Director Weisberg.
Yes.
Okay, you have a 7.
All right.
We'll vote on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Sherry. And we'll go back and I will give the floor to you, Director Burns, for let's discuss item number D, or letter D.
Oh, thank you, Chair Stivland. And I could really, my comments have to do with both D and G together. So if I can, I'm really speaking to both those items.
Okay.
Thank you. Within these consent agenda items, we are being asked to approve a personnel hire. While I have no issue with the individual being considered, I disagree with the decisions that have been made, which have caused the district to be in this position of need. Nevertheless, my obligation as a steward of this district compels me to now make a decision that is most beneficial to the district given the current reality, regardless of the circumstances that led us to here. The parallel that I seek to draw is with all of our board decisions, but most eminently with respect to the bus facility. Although some may disagree with the decisions which led to our current ownership position in the Lake Elmo bus facility, it is incumbent upon us to focus on the current reality and to determine how to best progress from this point forward. With that approach in mind, I would move to approve both consent agendas D and G as written.
Thank you very much, Director Burns. Any other comments before we vote? Director Pelletier.
Thank you, Chair. I had intended to pull item G, so I think I can just add it to this part of it because it looks like Director Burns was combining the two. Just a couple of comments and then questions, if at all possible. As I had stated at the last meeting, I am in opposition to this decision for the reasons that I can repeat in some fashion at this point. I do not support this decision as it holds no merit with me personally. There was never any documentation, and I still don't see any new documentation to support this decision. And most importantly, what is at the forefront of everyone's minds at this moment in time is, frankly, when is this world going to get back together? When are we going to get back to normal? How are we going to teach our children? When are we going to hug our loved ones again? To me, this decision was out of touch and arrogant given the circumstances we're in right now as a society. We are now being asked to vote on an expenditure of $29,250 out of our general fund through May 29th. And as you know, Director Burns had said, I have absolutely no issues whatsoever with Mr. Tyne, but it's at $650 per day. That may have additional costs per the agenda if there is a need to extend it. So I guess, Chair, if I could ask you at this point, you know, and possibly just for the sake of the public, who set the end of May as the end date for this? You know, where was that stated, or perhaps that was between you and Kathy Moen, and I don't know. And under what parameters was was that decision made? So what went into that decision to have May 29th be the ending date? So I guess I'm just looking for context surrounding that decision for that date. And also in the agenda, it says there will be no costs unless there is a need to due to timing. So I was wondering if someone could elaborate on that as well.
I can answer the first question. That was 100% arranged by our Human Resources Director, Kathy Moen. I was not consulted on that decision. I think that I can just hazard a guess that she was making her best estimate as to how much time was likely to be needed. I think that she left it open so that if we needed to add more time, we have that option. I don't quite understand your second question. If you could just clarify a little bit.
I'm looking at more detail. I'm looking at more detail as to why May 29th is the date and if we're not sure, how are we going to keep the public informed as to how long this is going on? While on one point we want a thorough investigation, which that's great, but how long is this going to go on? I mean, this is a hit to our general fund. I don't support that. I've been pretty vocal about that. So I guess I'm just wondering, what the context is surrounding that deadline and how can we keep the public informed as to where we're at with this?
Okay, so I have a couple thoughts about this. One, I think every board member received a copy of the contract with the investigator, with the exact parameters and the scope of work. And in that contract, it states that the board has complete control. If we feel that it is going on too long, we can end it for no reason, with reason or without reason. So that's if that's a concern as we go forward, that's something we can bring up again. Obviously, this is an investigation. The nature of investigations are that we don't know how long it's going to take. Best guess, at least a month, maybe probably not as much as 3 months, but we don't know. We really don't know. I just think that that's the nature of investigations. We can't answer that question. I have indicated in speaking with the investigator, and they completely understood that the time is of the essence. We'd like to try to keep the scope as narrow as possible so that it doesn't take a long time. If we want to talk about that more, we certainly can. As far as your further questions, I mean, I would just like to say, as chair, I would really like going forward, if items are going to be pulled from the consent agenda, I would really like to have the opportunity to talk with you, each board member, if you intend to pull something ahead of time, because I think it will just help our meetings go a little more smoothly. I would be happy to talk about this anytime, and I think these are valid concerns, valid questions, and I want to talk about them with you. And to have this come up now, I really would have been more prepared for an answer. And I would have welcomed a conversation with you before now. So I just wanted to say that.
That's fine. For me, this is a hit to the general fund, right? This is, the public is impacted by this. We are public officials. So I just want this stated publicly at a meeting. So I appreciate your answer. And, I support an investigation. I don't support, I never supported this, so I apologize, but I'm not going to be voting for it. Thank you. I'm ready to call the vote.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, that was
Does anybody else have any? Director Potachik, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just have a question when Mark finished. Mark, did you move items D and G?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve items D and G on the consent agenda. Any further comments? All right, hearing none, it's time for a roll call. Sherry?
Director Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pierson,
Yes.
Director Pelletier,
I'm going to be an abstention, abstain.
okay. Clerk Potacek,
Yes.
Treasurer Riley,
Yes.
Chair Stivlin,
Yes.
Director Weisberg.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Sherry. Moving on, our next item, we're moving on to reports. And our first report tonight is the COVID-19 response and update from Superintendent Pontrelli. Oh, Superintendent, we can't hear you. You need to unmute.
Hi, John.
I think there we go. Hi there.
Thank you, John.
You're set. We can hear you now.
All right, great. Thank you. We have nearly completed week 2 of distance learning in our district. I continue to be impressed with our staff and the work they are doing in this unprecedented time to care for our kids. This is a collaborative effort between our teachers, administrators, support staff, and our families. In addition to thanking our teachers and staff, I'd also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our families and students who have been incredibly patient and flexible through all of this. Their worlds too have been turned upside down, and we know that distance learning adds additional stress on all of them. We really all are in this together, learning new things. Tonight I'll share an overview of the work that has taken place across the district over the last couple of weeks. We've been providing professional development for our instructional staff to help them create lessons and instructional resources for students using technology. For some of our staff, they're now using technology that they've never used before, so it's been a steep learning curve. We've also trained our staff to collaborate through online platforms, both with their colleagues and with students and their families. We've provided professional development for our special education staff also, who face unique challenges when delivering instruction to our most vulnerable students. Our special educators have written more than 1,400 individualized distance learning plans within a 48-hour window to ensure compliance and service delivery for our students with disabilities. This was an incredible feat by our teachers. They truly are amazing. The team has also personally delivered specialized instruction, materials, equipment, and assistive technology devices to all of our students who need them. There are numerous compliance, privacy, and confidentiality requirements for the special education team to follow, and they've done a remarkable work to develop a model for distance learning that addresses each of those concerns. Staff aren't the only ones who are impacted by distance learning, as we've learned tonight. We've developed a variety of resources to help parents navigate their new role. Our staff has created step-by-step training videos and online presentations to help our parents connect with Seesaw and Schoology, and provided sample distance learning schedules and checklists specifics to our parents and students to help them along. We've built out a comprehensive distance learning web page for our families to access, and for those of you who haven't seen that, please do. We are translating documents related to distant learning for our students and families as needed, and have even created a separate version of our distance learning webpage for our Spanish-speaking families in their own language. Distance learning requires collaboration between teachers, students, and parents, so we've gradually introduced learning experiences so that students and parents can adjust to this new environment. We've had some feedback that the first week wasn't rigorous enough. That was intentional. Beginning next week, distance learning will start to more closely resemble learning experiences that happen every day in school as we ease our families into this process. Our student advocates and school counselors have put together resources to help students and families deal with the stress and challenges of COVID-19. The Support for Families link on our website provides a variety of resources to help families access mental health support, as well as providing for any of their basic needs, such as food or financial support. Counselors continue to provide personalized support virtually through individual student meetings with check-ins, student groups, family meetings, etc. Teachers have connected personally with each student and family to find out what they need to be able to engage in learning. This includes supplies, technology, food, mental health support, and any other assistance. Then our learning and innovation team coordinates the distribution of these resources to our families. Examples include our online therapy sessions, gas or groceries, food delivery, or any type of shelter outreach that may be necessary. For technology, we've supplied more than 500 Chromebook devices to students. Internet service support is pending for 150 families as we await delivery of cellular hotspots. The first batch of hotspots are being delivered to families today and tomorrow. Schoology has had a difficult time scaling their system to support the incredible increase in traffic throughout Minnesota and the country. While they continue to make significant improvements, we're still experiencing service impacts between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. and have been encouraging our students to flex their learning around these peak times. We're communicating with families multiple times a week to keep them informed about distance learning. Our tech team is also working to support teachers and staff in working from home, and all of us also. All teaching staff have district laptops with webcams. We've rolled out MLC soft phones to 80% of our teaching staff, which allows our teachers to call students and parents and reach their home using their classroom phone number. Tech support is being provided to all of our staff over the phone or on Google Hangouts or through remote control. This week, we began working with Lakeview Hospital to collaborate on how we can use our Design and Make program at the middle schools to support some of the needs to 3D print personal protective equipment. We're currently prototyping face shields that can be used by our medical professionals. This is one of the many ways we've been working with our local partners. Lakeview Hospital, Washington County, the Greater Stillwater Area Chamber of Commerce, Valley Outreach, Family Means, Youth Services Bureau, our local cities and faith communities have all been working closely with us to find creative ways to serve our students and families during this incredibly needy time. As always, we're so grateful to all these organizations and many more who work with us to support our students and families. Our health services team has been providing support to both staff and students at each of the schools where we're providing childcare for our emergency workers. They've implemented a health screening protocol for our children and staff as they arrive at school for each childcare site, and they've created a space in the event that a child might become ill during the day. This team also is providing guidance to our principals and administrators on the CDC recommendations related to the health and safety for all of our district staff. Earlier this week, we worked with our custodial staff and the cities to close off our playgrounds. We were hopeful that the governor's stay-at-home order would be enough, but children were still congregating at the playgrounds. We want to make sure that we're doing our part to keep everyone safe and hope that our families will help us with that. On Monday, we had our largest distribution of meals yet, with more than 2,100 bags of food handed out, and each of those containing 5 days worth of meals. That's a total of 10,740 meals distributed just this week alone. Our food services staff is doing an amazing job, and we're so grateful we can keep feeding our kids during this quarantine. We've expanded our emergency childcare to workers in the Tier 2, which now includes grocery store workers and others helping to maintain the services deemed essential by our governor. We're typically serving between 30 and 40 kids each day, and we'll be consolidating from 4 sites down to 3 next week to limit the number of staff that we need to run this program. Finally, we've been getting a lot of questions about spring events and celebrations, as you can imagine, especially graduation. Our high school staff has been discussing several possibilities and will be reaching out to our seniors in the coming days to get their ideas and thoughts about how they might like this celebration to look. We want our students to help us design a meaningful celebration, and we'll share more of this with the community as their plans develop. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Denise. That was a lot. That is a lot. And I see a lot of hands. So board members have questions. And I think Director Pierson, I think I saw yours go up first. So let's start with you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say a shout out to our teachers. I have 4 kids in the house, so that's a lot of teachers, plus our exchange student. And they have been nothing short of amazing in the work that they've done and the support they've given, in how much they are leaning into doing new things, and just they have such great energy and attitude around them that I couldn't have imagined how hard that they would work to do this. So just kudos to all of you who are working so hard to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Director Pelletier.
Thank you, Chair. Denise, I just wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to you as the leader of this district. I was going to bring this up in my board report, but I think it's more applicable now. There's also a group of parents called Stillwater Cares, and it's a Facebook group. I know some of the moms that are heavily involved in this, and they are. It's a group of just honestly just parent warriors who are there. I think it's some 1,200 parents plus. They're working towards a goal of making face masks for the entire Valley, community members, staff, moms, dads, elderly, students. I just wanted to thank these people for everything that they're doing. I know it's a ton of work, and it's so much. It just warms my heart and means a lot. And then I wanted to just say a tiny little personal story. I have been just in conversations with a few parents that have kids that are just have some really tough needs, and it can't be stressed enough that this is also very difficult for parents. And I had a woman contact me and say she just cannot say enough, and I'm going to give this lady a shout out. Her name is Caitlin Willis, and I just want to. It's people like you, Caitlin, who make this world go round. So thank you. You have extended your heart to these families, and I just want to thank you for it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Potachik.
Yes, a couple things. Number one, I want to echo both Shelley and Jennifer in their comments, and they're right on. And something the district has picked up on, and I think Carissa and others have done it, where they use this slogan, "It takes a village," and they've expanded it. It takes a valley, and I think that's very apt. So whether we're thanking administration, staff for what they're doing, which is phenomenal, and my heartfelt thank as well, but Superintendent Pontrelli, just one thing I wanted you or John probably to fill in some of the public who may not know what it is, and that's hotspots. Oh. If you would talk a little bit about what that is, because I think it points out a need.
Sure, John, do you want to talk to the application, or do you want me to just, Director Perry?
I don't know that I'm dressed for.
Hi, John.
Hey, how we doing?
It takes a valley, John.
That's right. Yeah. So we did a pretty comprehensive survey. Our teachers picked up the telephone and called pretty much every single student in the district to find out what their technology needs at home would be for getting through distance learning. And during that process, we asked them about computers they had in the home that could be used for homework, but we also asked about the availability of their internet connection. And so just to update a little bit of what Ms. Pontrelli was talking about, we're up to almost 1,000 computers that are out between Monday and today, because our elementaries are now doing some more technology-based distance learning. And then we ordered 150 hotspots. So the first 50 of those went out today. The second 50 will be going out between tomorrow and Monday, and the last 50 should be out by Wednesday. And those are going to our families that have the greatest financial struggle and can't afford even some of the subsidized internet at home. So there's a lot of efforts being made right now to determine which students are engaged and which students are not engaged in distance learning. And when a student is not engaged and they're not having those daily conversations with the teachers, the teacher and other folks in our district are reaching out and finding out what are the barriers that are keeping these folks from being able to really connect with the teacher on that daily basis to support learning. It's not always technology, but when it is technology, we're sending that stuff home. We have families going through a lot of different things right now. And so the hotspots are one component of what that need looks like. But the whole team here is addressing those needs on a number of different levels, from food to, somebody just needs somebody to talk to help them feel more safe and secure in the current environment. And then even when people have difficulty accessing technology, most everybody, has a telephone. And so we did talk a little bit about the MLC soft phones. So that's a computer on the teacher's laptop. And so the teacher can call their families, and the families can pick up the phone and call their teacher, just like the teacher sitting in the classroom. And so through that and the office hours that have been set for teachers, I think we've done a lot to really make our teachers closely accessible to our families. And I have to echo the comments I've heard. They're knocking it out of the park, advocating for every kid, and doing everything they can to keep learning happening, even though we're at a distance.
Wow. Thank you.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you, John. And I just want to reiterate that as well, that I think one of the things that we're hearing from the Department of Education and, from the state is that we as districts should be thinking about the social emotional needs of our students and their families, and, thinking about all of this through the lens of equity, and making sure that everybody has what they need to be able to succeed, to successfully navigate this whole new paradigm. And it sounds like we are doing a really, really, really good job of making sure that everybody has at least the technological needs met. And I just love that our teachers can reach out through the telephone and just call people and call their students and connect that way too.
Absolutely.
Some really modern things and some old school ways of connecting with each other.
That's right.
It's kind of good. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Oh, absolutely.
Director Weisberg.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna make this quick. Thanks, Mike, for asking that question, because I kind of wondered the same thing. We had an email a couple of days ago that said these are different internet options, and I thought, how if people don't have internet, would they see that message? So that that answered my question too. And then the other question I had, maybe this is to Carissa and Denise mostly, are there still places that community members can drop off if the schools that are providing childcare need wipes or hand sanitizer, things like that? I think we had heard Rutherford was a good drop off. Is that still the best place? And then what exactly are things that are needed?
I know a lot of that.
Go ahead, Carissa.
I was going to say a lot of that is being coordinated now through Community Thread. The last I saw, they had put something out on social media that they were collecting a lot of those things and then getting those back to us. So I think that's one great venue to look into, is to work through Community Thread.
Okay.
As far as just dropping things off, I guess I honestly don't know where the best location for that would be. If Denise has any ideas, otherwise I'd say for sure work through Community Thread, or you can always contact our main office and we'll try to find some help for you too that way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question, Liz. And the Stillwater Cares, that is the Facebook page that this stuff is popping up. They'll say we need 400 packages of wipes. And then within hours, it seems like it's already done. It's just amazing how the community, it's a way for the community to connect and stay on top of these things, and everyone's kind of working together in real time. It's amazing. So I had a question actually. Denise, you said that you're going to be going from 4 sites for the childcare down to 3. Can you say what those sites are?
The
3?
Right. Lake Elmo is the site that we're condensing and collapsing into Brookview, Rutherford, and I want to say Lily Lake.
Okay, excellent. And then is it my understanding that the teachers are classified as a tier 2, so they have access to childcare?
Our teachers.
Is that correct?
Yes, they do have access to childcare.
Right. I thought that's what you said in your presentation, and I think that was a question that some people in the community have asked me, and that was just my assumption, and then I just wanted to clarify that is true. So that's good. Our teachers are working so hard, and I want to reiterate some of the comments that others have said. It's just been amazing, and it's so huge, this change, and to know that our teachers have some staff to help support their own families. That's really great. Carissa?
I just wanted to clarify. It's Rutherford, Lily Lake, and Afton Lakeland.
Afton, sorry. Afton
Oh,
to Brookview.
okay.
Okay. There was one other thing, Sarah, that you just said about that, as we look at this, as the number of individuals might rise that are getting sick and needing more and more of our healthcare officials, we think that there might be a rise in those numbers. So we're being kind of careful and monitoring that because we expect those numbers to increase.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Thank you so much, Superintendent Pontrelli, for that information. It's great. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right. And moving on, our item B under the reports is the 2020 roof replacement at Stillwater Middle School and at Stillwater Area High School. And I think for this one, we need Tony Wilger and also John Tyne.
Hello.
And Superintendent Pontrelli. Who wants to go first?
We'll let Mr. Tyne take this.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, John.
Good. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Tyne and board chair, directors, superintendent. I have 4 items that I'm going to be addressing, and Tony is in the bullpen waiting to help me if I make a mistake along the way. The first one is the roof replacement, and it involves the the Stillwater High School and the Stillwater Middle School. It's a roof replacement and a wall improvement that's going to help keep the high school high and dry. There's been some water problems. If you look at the documents that are included, it talks about the original cost was estimated at over $500,000, but the bids were split and came in just a shade over 400. So it saved about $100,000 over projection. There's an expenditure approval form. And also we've had BWBR review the project and make a recommendation. And the bid tallies are also included in your document. And that includes Burwall for the wall at the high school. And then Pierson Brothers Roofing Diverse Construction for the middle school roof. So are there any questions that, if I can't answer, Tony, I know will. So anything at all from him?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I saw Director Burns' hand go up first, so we'll start with you, Mark.
Thank you. And by the way, John, welcome to the meeting. Welcome to the district. So I have a question, John, for you or Tony. In terms of the water intrusion issue, that is for the high school, some metal paneling that is proposed to being put in. And then there's also, we're going to be in a couple items here on item D for the tuck pointing. I believe they relate to a wall of the auditorium. Is that right?
I think that's right. And Tony mentioned that earlier to me.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we know for how long approximately we've been experiencing that issue in the auditorium? And the reason why I bring this up is because the CDT, the community design team, as part of their recommendation, has recommended an expansion or renovation of the auditorium. And so I want to know, is this something that it needs immediate attention, or is it, I just like to know your feedback on, how long have we been experiencing that problem, and is this something that we really need to address right now?
Well, we've been experiencing the problem for since I've been in my position. This is not a roof leak. This is a wall leak. The water over if it's a driving long 3-day rain will permeate the exterior brick, and then follow ways through the wall cavity and get into the ceiling below. So that's why the metal panels we're recommending we wrap that in metal panels. We've done this in multiple other locations that it's been successful, where similar things happen, such as Lake Elmo and Oak Park and it's just a better approach.
I was going to mention that too, Director Burns, that as long as I've been in the district, it's been a problem. But it's not
Thank you.
unusual.
Thank you.
In another life, I've noticed that too, where the rain and it affects the brick, it'll chip away and break away over a period of time. And it's really aesthetic. It's a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Director Potacek.
Yes, having lived in a brick home, older brick home, I know very vividly what tuck pointing is. So John, either you or Tony, I can explain it very easily, but you guys are much more in the position to do that. What exactly is tuck pointing? All I know is it costs a lot of money. It's very worker intensive. And when you're all done, people will hardly notice unless you don't do it. Then you notice what you didn't do in the results.
Tony,
Correct.
I'll let you start.
So you take out or you grind out every grout line, meaning all the cement in between the brick. It will be all ground back about a 3/4 to 1 inch, and then have a mortar put back in just as it was.
Very labor intensive.
Very labor intensive, and that's the point of failure is usually that's the mortar, and that's the tuck pointing is going to happen on the parking lot side. Yeah. Again, didn't want to cover that in metal because who wants to drive up to a metal building? This pretty much so that's the metal will be on the high roof, where the high roof meets the low roof. And then the tuck pointing will be on the parking lot side. And if you notice when you drive up to the high school, that wall is a lot of mold growing on it, and that's because there's moisture in that wall.
Tony, quickly remind people how old the new high school is.
Oh, it is 25 years old, approximately.
Wow, okay. It's hard to believe.
Director Burns.
Thank you. So I just want to, the reason why I bring this up for our consideration as a board is the timing of this. We haven't yet had an opportunity to talk about what the CBP recommendations are. And if this were something that the board, in terms of the renovation or reconstruction of the auditorium, is something that the board is interested in potentially adding to a bond referendum in the near future, potentially we'd want to think about, do we want to invest in this repair work to the auditorium when it's conceivable that within just a very short period of time, a couple of years, we may be actually tearing it down. So just for the board's consideration in terms of timing, do we, what is the urgency of this work? I recognize that it certainly needs to be done, but I wouldn't want to, if we are considering moving forward with that item of the CDT recommendation, we should consider whether or not to proceed with that this summer.
Just so you know, when working with Krause Anderson of kind of just some concepts of how to add on to the auditorium, I don't feel they would be tearing out that wall that is by the parking lot. Yeah, it would just be more on extending it, and then so that the majority of that wall will still stay as an exterior wall, and that's from what I could tell. But again, back to you never know what design is being made. So
okay,
very good point.
Okay, thank you. That's a really good point, Director Burns. I'm glad you brought that up. Are there any other questions about this? Okay, so this is a report. This is a report at this time. We'll have it as an action item at our next meeting. Did you have something, John?
Right. There was one other thing too. That was item B, I assume, and I guess that you would like to go to C, even though we touched a little bit on tuck pointing already. But there's
let's.
Board Chair. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead. It's okay.
There are some items that are included in item 6C that deal with the 3 elementary schools, Stonebridge, Lily Lake, and Afton Lakeland, and then also at Stillwater Middle School. And there's a project description of each one. And Tony went through them with me very carefully. And the replace flooring, casework, ceilings, bathrooms are another big item that's in there. This is an expensive item. This is, all of those put together is over $1,700,000. And it's at various sites, and it's laid out in the district renovation 2020. It'll be one time. This is a perfect time to do it too, because we can get an early start on it and it'll be ready for the start of school. Some of those projects that are inside elementary schools do take some time because there might be other activities that are going on. And so that's the item there. Did I forget anything, Tony? Yes.
No.
Tony promised to take me on a tour of all these buildings too. And he promised to bring
Good.
me back. He promised to bring me back too after he took me out there, so that was good.
That's great. And actually, I should say too, I think items B, C, D, and E, all four of these items tonight, as you mentioned at the beginning, John, are all items that have been included in our 10-year plan for the long-term facilities maintenance.
Yeah.
So these would have been listed in the long list that we get, and we approve that and renew it every year. We'll be doing that again sometime later in May or June. We'll be renewing that document for this year. But these are the four items that we're looking at actually completing this summer. And so, yeah, they are expensive, but they're important for us to keep up with the quality buildings and facilities that we have. So we've covered B. Are there any questions about C? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to D.
Thank you for feeling sorry for me there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. This is the tuck pointing we already kind of
This is
started
the
talking about
tuck-pointing
there.
we've talked about already. And the thing about this too, you can either pay me now or pay me later is kind of the mantra that we use. And from afar, I've always appreciated the condition of the buildings in Stillwater and what care the community has taken and put forward. You have a lot of pride in your community about what you do. And it is the oldest school district in Minnesota. I did look that up. And this is one more item, the tuck pointing, and that's very important. And it really makes a difference structurally on the building. And I don't know if there are any questions on D. I have Tony in the bullpen ready to answer if you have one. And E, the last one, if there aren't any questions, is one that really hits home, and it's pool work. And there are only certain times of the year that you're able to do that. And this is some tiling that needs to be done. Pools really need to be kept up to date because of the high humidity that's in that facility. That can cause some of the grout and other things to loosen up. So Tony said that this should be taken care of, and I have great faith in him. And 85,000, the expenditure report is in, and I think I'll stand for questions if there are any of them.
Are there any questions regarding either B, C, D, or E? Director Burns.
Thank you again. Just a question. Do you anticipate, John or Tony, any delays or cost increase this summer as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic? Do you anticipate any issues with these projects being completed by the beginning of the school year?
I'll let you answer, Tony, and then I'll.
In fact, when meeting with contractors and kind of pre-construction walkthroughs, just because they're able to get into jobs early, they're looking to complete their summer. So I'm hoping for real attractive pricing.
And
we've
I think
seen that in the roofing and even the parking lot work that's coming up on the next action item. But
yeah,
a lot has been favorably priced.
Contractors are hungry right now too. I mean, a lot of them have their staff, their construction crews sitting not idle, but probably not very busy at the present time. And schools are very attractive because it's a clean, safe place to work, and they have the time and the effort to do it. So I think your prices are going to be very favorable.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Did you have a question, Director Pierson?
Yeah, thank you. And you kind of answered it, but might they be able to start sooner if kids aren't in school? Will that be part of the conversation?
I think so. I
Yes.
would assume if it's open, we should get at it, right, Tony?
That is correct.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we found one advantage to the coronavirus pandemic.
One.
All right, I'm making a list.
Just one. Very short list.
One so far. I had a question. So for the tile on the pool area at Oakland Junior High or Oakland Middle School, as a part of the community design team, we did take a tour of that building and we got to see the pool. And it's a nice facility. I like it, but I do agree it's time for that tile to be replaced. I just want to know who gets to decide what color the new tile is going to be.
Tony.
That is me.
Anybody but me. Tony, there you go.
If there's opinions, let me know. But I usually do get to pick it. It's ice cream white.
All right.
Ice cream white.
Oh, that'll be very pretty. Ice cream white. That's good. It's nice and safe.
Yep.
Safe choice. All right. Are there any other questions or comments on these items? Director Pelletier.
Thank you. So, Mr. Hine, I'm going to give you a pass on this for the moment because you're a little new, but Stillwater Area Public Schools is the oldest and the best district. I just had to, kidding aside, Tony, I think this might be for you. Somewhat off topic. I remember Stillwater Middle had some pool issues a couple years ago, and it's in my mind and thinking about the tile issues at Oakland Middle. Would you say that there are any other issues that we need to kind of flag or have in the back of our minds, or do you think this is a really appropriate for this time and nothing else major will be of issue coming up
At Oakland Middle School?
at Oakland? Yeah.
I'll say there's a lot of tile work to be done at Oakland Middle School. Even the floor in the pool room or pool area. 3 years ago, we tried to do all the tile work at once and we could not find a contractor.
Right.
Because the project was so huge that they would not get it done in time. So I'm just, shall we say, chipping away at the tile project at Oakland. And the kitchen. The kitchen's up. That's in the same condition. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
So can we expect to see those on a future list?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Coming soon. All right. Great. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, let's move on to item number F, or I keep calling them numbers. They're not numbers, they're letters. All right, letter F. And this is the first reading of policy 406. And so I think I'll turn it over to our policy working group chair, Director Burns.
Thank you. So this is our first reading of policy number 406, public and private personnel data. This is a policy that we currently don't have an analogous one in our policies. So we are looking to adopt this policy, which is primarily taken from the MSBA model policies. We haven't, the policy working group has not made much of any substantive changes to this policy. If you look at it in the packet, there is some red strike through, but the majority of that is just moving. So we've got the definitions that had been in on the first page, section 3. Those definitions have then just been moved to the back. We feel that the policy is more readable that way. So those strike throughs, that isn't changing or moving anything, just moving it, with the exception of there is a part of the definition that has to do with a parking lot, parking space leasing data. And my understanding is that the the district, our district, does not lease parking spaces to personnel, to district personnel. And by the way, so this policy is pertinent to district personnel, the private personnel data of the district. So when it refers to parking space leasing data, the district doesn't lease it to the teachers and staff. They just have a spot. So otherwise, the just minor changes in terms of format, but no substantive changes other than that parking space leasing data. This is our first read, and so if there are any comments or questions, we will be considering them in between now and when our second and third readings are.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have a question or a comment regarding policy 406? So as you know, in our district, we'll have a second reading, and then we'll at a prospective meeting after that, we'll have the final reading and the action item. So we'll have plenty of time to take a look and review this one, but it is pretty straightforward from MSBA, and it's an important one for us to get on the books. All right. So seeing no comments or questions, let's move on to our action items tonight. The first one is action A, the district-wide paving rehabilitation. And I'll turn this back to John and Tony.
I think this is pretty clear cut. It was brought to the board previously at, I believe, the last school board meeting, if I'm right. And there are 4 separate project descriptions there: replacement of the west parking lot, seal coat of the main parking lot in the bus area, seal coating of the parking at Rutherford, and then a mill and overlay, which is pretty extensive. And the total bid came in at $591,000. And Larson Engineering reviewed the bids. The tabulation is listed. So I think that explains it all pretty carefully. And hopefully you'll approve. So all 3 bids came in. So
all right, questions? Thank you. So can I get a motion to approve the paving projects for the district?
So moved.
All right, I will take Director Pierson moves. And can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we'll give that second to Director Burns. Are there any questions or comments before we vote? Again, I feel like this is one of those items that is very expensive. It's important that we keep up. It makes our school district appear very nice and like we're staying on top of things, but it's also a safety issue. So, in the land of 10,000 lakes, it's important to take good care of those potholes, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, let's go ahead and do the roll call vote. Sherry.
All right, Director Burns.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pierson.
Yes.
Director Pelletier.
Yes.
Clerk Batachik.
Yes.
Treasurer Riley.
Yes.
Chair Stivland.
Yes.
And Director Weisberg. Liz, you have your mute on.
Director Weisberg, you are muted. You need to unmute.
Sorry, I didn't feel like anybody wanted to hear when my boys came home. So yes.
Okay. Thank you. So that's a yes as well. All right. So Sherry, if I'm correct, that was unanimous.
Yes, correct.
All right. Thank you. And let's move on to item B, which is the health insurance renewals. And I see that we've been joined by the lovely Kathy Moen. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
What do you have to share with us tonight about health insurance?
Good evening, Chair Stivland, Superintendent Pontrelli, and members of the board. This evening, I'm here to request your approval of the renewal of our insurance plans. Specifically, I will be requesting that you approve our medical insurance carrier for the upcoming 2 years, an increase to our dental insurance rates, and a correction to our vision plan rate. Before I get into talking through some of the details, I wanted to let you know that I do have George Vanderwheat, who is our benefits consultant with One Digital, on standby in the lobby should we need him. George and his colleague Alex know our plans well, and they do a great job of working with our insurance committee, providing us the information that we need to be able to make educated recommendations. In the packets you received, I provided detailed background information, but I thought I would focus mainly on 2 of the documents, those being the medical insurance renewal recommendation and the 1-page insurance renewal information document that was included in your board packet. As it relates to the medical insurance renewal recommendation, this year was the year the district was required to complete a request for proposal process under HITA, which is the Health Insurance Transparency Act. This legislation requires that we go out for proposals at least once every 2 years. In doing so, we advertised and invited medical insurance carriers to submit proposals for our medical insurance plan. We received proposals from 4 carriers, including Health Partners, Preferred One, the Public Employee Insurance Plan known as PEEP, and our current carrier, Blue Cross Blue Shield. The summary information you received did not include PEEP, as they are unable to provide a benefit structure for our self-funded plan. Medica declined to submit a proposal, and no proposal was received from United Healthcare by the deadline. We did an initial bid opening, followed by a second bid opening, with best and final proposals being submitted at the end of March. With the help of One Digital, the proposals were reviewed and discussed at length by the insurance committee. Ultimately, as you saw in the recommendation, the decision of the committee was to recommend that the district continue with the current insurance carrier, Blue Cross Blue Shield. You have detailed information regarding the basis for that decision, but to summarize, there were a couple of key reasons that this recommendation was made. When you equalize the proposals using consistent claims information, Blue Cross Blue Shield had the lowest renewal, with Health Partners the next closest proposal with just a small variance. In addition, Blue Cross Blue Shield provides us a $12,500 credit each of the 2 years for a total of $25,000. We currently use these dollars to purchase a tool that allows us to break down claims information to determine ways in which we can target education programs for staff in an effort to reduce our claims, thereby continuing to reduce the amount we're expending out of our reserve. The biggest concern on the part of the committee was the disruption caused to staff as a result of a change. These disruptions include such things as medical providers who would not be covered and prescriptions that would not be covered. Formulary drug changes was of great concern as it would require employees who had already gone through the various steps to try different drugs in order to get approval for their current medications to start that process all over. All of this was considered with 2 important issues in mind. First being the fact that we are in the middle of the COVID pandemic, where staff already have heightened health concerns. In many cases, we have staff who have also experienced delays in medical procedures until potentially this summer or later. Committee members did not want to create additional stress by making a change in carriers, causing employees to navigate medical procedures with potential changes in providers and eligible drugs. The other issue, which creates an additional challenge, is that the disruptions that our plan would experience would rise to an aggregate value change, which is a change in the overall value of an employee's benefits, which would require a vote by all collectively bargained employee groups. This obviously is not insurmountable. We have done it in the past. It was just another piece that kind of play into this decision. That covers the medical carrier recommendation. At this point, I thought I'd take a break and give you a chance to ask questions about that piece before I move on to the other 2 parts.
All right, thank you very much. Director Pierson.
Thank you. And thank you, Director Moen. Is this percentage increase the same industry-wide? Is this kind of consistent with what's happening all over insurance? And do you have an idea of why such a big increase at this time?
Yeah, the medical trend right now is about a 6.5% increase. For us, we've experienced a really high claims year this past year, and our claims and our funding are almost within $500,000 of being exact, so that we did not build any reserve this year. With the COVID pandemic and not knowing what kind of medical costs might come out of that, it was really important to the committee that we be able to make sure that we build some reserve. We are, even with this increase, we're still going to be about 700,000 from where we would want our reserve to be. So this gets us about halfway to that gap of what we're short of covering what we should have in a reserve, which is about 3 to 4 months of a premium, or 3 more months of our claims. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions or comments regarding the medical part of the insurance?
All right, I'll go on to the next part.
Director,
quick question.
hang on. Hang on 1 second. Director Potachik, I'll let you go next, but first we'll go with Mark Burns.
Oh,
He raised
hi,
his
thank
hand
you.
first.
Thank you. I did just want to point out my understanding when it indicates an 8% increase this year. The district has had several years leading up to this of relatively benign increases in the range of 3%, 3.5%, which is probably below what some other districts have had to deal with. So I just want to point that out for the public that because of the management that we've had, the good management of our medical insurance setup, we have had over several years a relatively benign increases. And so this is really just kind of 1 year that we've had a little bit higher of a jump, but overall we've done very well.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Director Potachik?
I think I'll pass. I'm kind of watching the clock too, and we've got to be done by 8.
Oh, okay. Very good. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Kathy, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, rest assured, I'll just cover. So the next piece that I wanted to talk briefly about is the proposed rate increase that you saw for the dental that's being recommended. We did request for proposals on our dental plan last year. If you remember, I think we brought you about 12 plans that we went out and did insurance renewals on. So there was not an RFP done on this plan. The committee and the administrative recommendation, however, after reviewing our claims information and the status of our self-insured dental reserve, is to increase the premium by 3%. This recommendation is being made to ensure that we are sufficiently covering all of our dental claims and continuing. Oh, I'm so sorry. My dog just ran upstairs. Continuing to build our dental reserve, which ensures that we are protecting the district's general fund from having to cover any claims. The last thing you are being asked to approve this evening is a correction to the rate of our vision coverage, which is included as a part of our gold coverage medical insurance plan. When you were asked to approve the rates for this plan last year, they were stated at $11.52. This number should have been $11.82. So I'm requesting approval to, just for the purpose of ensuring that the board action reflects approval of the correct rate. This is the rate that actually went into effect in July of 2019. And it's actually guaranteed through June 30th of 2023. So this is totally just for a correction of the record to make sure I'm not using a different rate than what the board approved. With that.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Nope. With that, administration recommends the following. I just thought I'd sum them up so you know what you're voting on. Approval of the Blue Cross Blue Shield as district's medical insurance carrier for the 2021 and the 21-22 plan years. Increasing the dental rate by 3% and making a correction to the vision plan coverage to reflect a monthly rate of $11.82.
All right, thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve that recommendation?
So moved. So moved.
Okay, we'll go with Director Riley, who I heard first. Director Pelletier, would you like to second?
Sure. Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Any further questions or comments on the health insurance plan as presented by Director Moen? I just want to say really quickly that I love that we've had such a long relationship with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota. That's a great company, and I'm happy that they're providing us great service, and, you know, shout out to them. I'm glad we're staying with them. I feel good about that. Anybody else? All right, Sherry, if you're ready, let's do a roll call vote for the health insurance, the employee benefits insurance plan.
Director Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pierson,
Yes.
Director Pelletier,
Yes.
Clerk Potacek,
Yes.
Treasurer Riley,
Yes.
Chair Stivland, and Director Weisberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sarah, Chair Stivland.
Sarah's
just-
frozen.
Uh-oh. There she
Oh, there we
is.
go.
Are we okay? Oh my gosh, you guys. That freaked me out. I was going to say this at the beginning of the meeting because when we were practicing this last night, I lost my feed. I think it was my own internet here or whatever. And I thought, okay, well, if I get lost off of the meeting, Shelley, you're going to have to jump in and, serve, right? Until I can get back. So I hope you're ready for that. Okay. Are we good?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.
All right. So I think that is the end of our action items tonight. And so we'll just move on to the board reports. And I just have one thing I want to share, if I can find it here. I did attend the Intermediate District 916 meeting last week. And that was my first experience of this kind of electronic type meeting. It was really, really kind of interesting. It worked fairly well. But I have a couple of things. The Career and Technical Center at 916 has chosen to end their education training program that they had been providing, mostly because they didn't have enough interest in the class. And so instead, they're going to be offering a new healthcare related class for students who want to go into healthcare fields. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I know that they were very excited about the education field offering, but it just didn't have enough students. And then the other thing, for any of you who are familiar with 916, the superintendent's executive assistant named Linda Zaradka has been serving at 916, forget this, 49 years. Wow. 49 years. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, incredibly talented, and she has announced her retirement. And so I just wanted to say, shout out to Linda. She's amazing. And we were all very sad about it, but we knew it was coming. And so I just wanted to share that with all of you today. If that's all I have from 916. And so we'll move on to, let's see, board chair reports. Who would like to go first? How should we do this? Shelley, do you have a report that you'd like to share?
Are we doing board member reports or working group reports? Working groups first.
I have board. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't even read my own paper. I'm sorry. Let's do working group reports first. So the community engagement is the first one.
That's me.
Dr. Weisberg.
Both of our meetings have been canceled since we can't engage with the community, unfortunately. So actually, that was a question that I had. I felt badly because thinking I had the whole semester to talk to the schools that I'm the liaison for. I didn't do it before schools were shut down. So I've contacted both, but my question really is to the full board. Do we want to extend our current liaison into next semesters? Because I thought people might be in the same boat as me that maybe didn't get in touch with their respective schools. So that's kind of a question I just wanted to put out there. Is that something that we would want to consider? So what the same schools we all have this semester, we would have next semester when hopefully we can get in and actually be engaged with that school.
I think that seems like a really logical choice. I know, Director Pierson, you were involved with planning that schedule. Do you have any thoughts about just pushing off what would have been this semester's work to next fall?
Yeah, I think we can hear what other board members think, but that should be totally fine to just push off those schools. I got to one of mine, but not the other, so I would be fine with pushing off.
Anybody else have thoughts about this? Director Potachik?
Yes, when I was the liaison for Lake Elmo, which was the first semester, I did meet with and talk with Stephen Gordy. I was planning on doing this next week as it was coming up, contacting the principal at Brookview and setting up a time where he and I could talk, much like we are right now. So whether we did FaceTime or we just talked over the phone, and he shared his perception of what was going on. Depending on how that works, I'm not sure whether we contact like a PTA head or something else, but obviously you got to do it either through FaceTime or you do it over the phone. But you know, it's kind of arbitrary where we start on this or where we move on with this, because eventually what we're hoping is to complete a full rotation. So whether we keep moving with the seasons, at least it's some, because I walked away from my experience from listening to Stephen Gordy and I learned a lot. And I'd hope to hear the same when I talk to Mark. And so I'm personally, I'm very flexible.
Okay. Director Pelletier?
Yeah, thank you. I think when Shelley and I can't remember who was on that community engagement when we first Sarah was, I think it was you, the three of us.
Yeah.
We were flexible within it, the schedule, we extended it a little bit. And, I'm in the same, I think we're all in the same boat. So I don't see why, hoping that, we're going to get our kids back into the schools, but we can, we can do a little double duty, perhaps we can try to do that. And if we can't, we can be flexible with it too. It's the big picture. I think we're doing really good things with this. This has been a positive move for the board. So I'm completely fine with being flexible with that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Did you have anything else, Director Weisberg?
No, thank you.
Okay. So let's move on to finance and operations. Director Riley?
Okay. First, I guess I'd like to say that we'll just jump into what's going on with the terminal. Right now, the application to amend the CUP will go to the Lake Elmo Planning Commission on April 13th. On April 21st, the City Council will hold the public hearing on the revocation. And on May 5th, the City Council will either revoke or amend the CUP. So just for the community to know what's going on with that. The Finance Work Group had a meeting last Friday with Jan Vanderwall and John Tyne, welcome John again, to discuss transportation contracts and bus terminal issues. We decided to gather board member questions to start conversations regarding what direction the board will eventually arrive at. After administration has answered initial questions, the whole board will meet to continue the discussion. I kind of see a work session or something in line for that. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you. Did you have a question? Yes, Director Weisberg, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Did it again, sorry. We had an email from Peter and saying that the CUP hearing is Monday, and actually it has, if you scroll down, it has a link that we can join the meeting. We're not required to do that, but apparently if you do join the meeting, then you have the ability to ask questions if you have any during that meeting. So I just wanted, I don't know if anybody happened to see it before the meeting started, but I just want to add that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for Director Riley or finances or anything? Okay, moving on. The Legislative Committee.
The Legislative Committee, I can tell you what's not happening. We did not go to the state capitol for C. That was canceled. All the C, AMSD, MSBA, all of their related meetings were pretty much canceled. But what I would say is that's pretty active, particularly is the newsletters coming out of those organizations. So any of those, AMSD, MSBA, in fact, Scott Kroonquist, I think, is giving us a daily update. But the state legislature is kind of interesting because mostly it's committee meetings. And even for some of that, people have to be in St. Paul, but they could be in St. Paul in their car by phone doing a hookup similar to what we're doing here. And I think one of the things, and I'm not sure, but she may want to contact on that, is the superintendent met online with our state representatives. And I think a lot of it had to do with distance learning. But the preemptive issue, where rightfully so, most of the attention is right now is on COVID-19 and how the legislature is responding, just like how the federal government is responding or not responding. So that's pretty much. But Superintendent Pontrelli, anything you took away from that meeting? I think it was online that you had with our representatives that you care to share.
Right. Thank you. That is we've had 2 calls now with Senator Karen Housley, Shelley Christensen, and Bob Detmer, and then other people from the Washington County, the whole valley, Ted Wedgleitner from Lakeview Hospital, Gary Kriesel from Washington County, and his staff, a number of folks just talking about how we're responding and how we can help support each other. There wasn't a lot of talk about distance learning other than, are you getting it done? And they were happy to hear that our plans were going well with that. And then we also shared about childcare and food services and what our needs were. And Dr. McDowell is reporting daily to the state what our childcare numbers and food service, and we're sharing with them the needs for technology so that they have a good sense of what the state is encountering with providing those services.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
great. Thank you. Is that all you have? Oh, okay.
The only other thing I'd say is I got from Scott, one of the things in his opening paragraphs on his update does not provide new revenue. So, and in fact, I would suspect that some of those surpluses they were talking about are probably very much in jeopardy. So,
Director Potacek, thank you for sharing that. And we'll share with the board what some of our costs are. We're working now with Annette Selman and with our food services and John Tyne on what we expect the rest of the year to look at. Some of our neighboring districts are looking at some cuts to some of their staff in the areas where they aren't providing services. And we'll bring that information to you and probably have it by next week.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. Thank you very much. I know I just have to, I have to just say, Mike, I know that this has been really hard for you. The pandemic and everything is terrible, but it must be such a loss to not be able to go to some of those events at the Capitol. I know you just absolutely love it, and so do I. I'm missing it this year. All right, and then policy. Director Burns?
Thank you. So we last met, the Policy Working Group met on Tuesday, March 31st. We discussed policy number 406, which was on our agenda tonight for its first reading. We also began to really try to dig into some new policies for the district, which will be numbers 601, School District Curriculum and Instruction Goals, 603, Curriculum Development, and 616, which is School District System Accountability. These 3 policies are kind of interrelated, and they are big, and so it's going to take us a while to get through them, but we have started, and we plan to continue to work on those at each one of our upcoming meetings. Our next meeting is this coming Tuesday, April 14th. We plan to, as I say, talk about each one of those 3 policies. We also plan to talk about 3 policies that were relatively recently approved by the board on April of 2019. And I wanted to be very clear about how we're going to treat these policies. We've decided to review policy 503, student attendance, 506, student discipline, and 524, technology and internet access and acceptable use. Again, each one of these 3 were just adopted by the board about a year ago, but we're going to review them, and if in our working group, if we do not find any changes, we will not be bringing them before the board. So if the board, if you could review these 3 policies as well as the community, they are on our website. Take a look at them, and if you have any questions or concerns about any one of those 3 policies, 503, 506, and 524, if you can direct them either to me or to Shelley or Sarah, who are also on the policy committee, we'd appreciate that. We're also going to be plan to review at our April 14th meeting a revised draft of 520. That's a student survey policy that has come for its first and second readings before the board, and it's been kind of come up for a bit, then we pulled it back, but that has gone through now a review by our legal counsel. And so we're going to be having what we hope to be our last review of that policy on this coming Tuesday, the 14th. So again, there, if you have an interest in that policy, please let us know.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. All right. And moving on to board member reports. Let's go ahead and start with Director Pierson.
Thank you. Well, I, like many of you, have been nowhere for the past couple of weeks, but I have watched so much. Just another thank you to our staff, but also to our families for their patience and their hard work and their understanding. And I see people working really hard to try to support their students' learning and to try to be supportive of what the teachers are doing. So I thank everybody for all the effort and for all you're doing, and just hope we can keep it up and have a good result.
Thank you. Director Burns?
Thanks. I want to just echo the comments that have been made about the teachers and the staff and administration who have all worked very hard to make this rollout as seamless as it has been. I know there have been some bumps, but that's to be expected. I know that from my own experience with my kids, that it has been going very well in terms of the responsiveness of the teachers, the way in which the plans are laid out very clearly for the students, and the availability of the teachers if there are questions. So I do appreciate that very much, and I think I speak for a lot of parents in that regard. I also just want to quickly make a note of a couple letters that have been signed by hundreds of district staff and community members expressing concern over recent board actions. This type of communication is important to us. I want to validate that we do receive that. It's important for us as board members to receive feedback from the community. That's how we know. That's how we can measure how we're doing. So I want to validate all of those communications that have come into us. They're important, and keep it up.
Thank you. Director Potacek, would you like to go next?
Yes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with an old classic by John Steinbeck called Travels with Charlie. And it was as he drove across the country, and he brought his dog Charlie along with him, and he wrote about what he saw. Well, I have a much smaller experience with that. Every day, I don't run as much as I used to, but I walk for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And every day I have a purpose rule that I try to go in a different direction or a different path. And as probably some of you have experienced as well, every day that the weather got a little nicer and a little nicer, more and more people would be out. And a lot of times it was 2 or 3 people. And I'm saying on my average walk, and I go through areas like Stonebridge is part of the district that I live in, Gateway Trail, I go through Croywood, and I also go up and down Myrtle oftentimes. But anyway, typically I'd say on a day, I probably meet about 3 or 4 parents or kids that I know. And one of the things that's really impressed me, one, I usually, especially if they're staff members, I say, well, how's it going? And boy, do they want to tell me about it. And, but for the most part, they're very upbeat. They're working hard and straining, but I also see kids and young kids. I say, well, how's school like? And well, we can walk around more. We can get out. We can take more breaks. And they seem to love that. And something else, one of the biggest concerns, and it's not like I'm seeing throngs of people. I am keeping my social distance, so it's usually 6 feet or more. But one of the real concerns, and my heart goes out for them, and something Denise talked about earlier, and that's graduation. Because a lot of these kids are very fearful, especially if they're seniors, what they're missing. And so it's graduation, it's prom, it's being with their friends and all of that. And wow, that's hard. And it's hard to come up with a good answer on it. But one of the things that on a more positive note that I love is the people who are displaying in their windows, on their porches and on their sidewalks, the kids' artwork. Some people, even today when I was walking, somebody had written in their driveway in huge letters, keep hope alive, and it's so all of that is a good thing. Now, I don't know if it rains tomorrow or snows over the weekend, if a lot of that's going to be obliterated, but you do get a little feel for what people are thinking about. And I do see some closeness of families, especially 2 or 3 kids, and they're not in those playground areas, but they're sitting like there's one off of Neil where there's a conglomeration of big boulders and parents are out there with 2 or 3 kids talking. And I see a lot of those little scenes. Maybe it's to get out of the house. Maybe it's their form of physical education. I don't know, but it's very, very fascinating. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Who should go next? How about you, Director Pelletier?
All right, thank you. Where's Mr. McDowell? Is he in the meeting?
He is.
Can you see?
He is.
Yes. Can he unmute himself?
I think he can hear us. We just can't see him or hear him.
There we go.
Oh, he's unmuted. Good. There we go. Hi, Bob.
Hi, everyone.
Mr. McDowell, this district suffered quite a loss recently. I just want to acknowledge you for the tremendous amount of work, heart, soul, and brain power that you have put into this district. I'm very sad personally to see you go, Bob. You are Hastings, boy, oh boy, you are lucky. This person is one of action, passionate about the district. And I believe in many ways, Bob, that you, people probably didn't notice the many things you do behind the scenes. So I just want to say I'm sad to see you go. And I'm at the same time, I'm so proud and I'm so happy for you and your family on this well-deserved next step in your professional career. And we'll be very sad to see you go and we'll miss you and wish you the very, very best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'm not crying
Thank
yet.
you.
I've got one more thing to say. The staff letter The staff letter touched me in many levels. I know that to sign something like that, to put your name on something like that, is quite an act of courage, and I just want to sincerely acknowledge that. And I did write back to some folks and some staff members. I wanted to just read a little excerpt of what I wrote, because I also think it's applicable for all of our staff as a general note of thanks. So take of this what you will, and I hope it resonates in some capacity. To say that you staff members of this district are on the front lines is an understatement of epic proportion. You not only shoulder the responsibility of caring for your own families, you're responsible for the care and education of countless students, and in a secondary manner, their families as well. There is no way to measure the magnitude of adaptation you must be experiencing in this time. I am sincerely sorry that the actions of the board have driven you to make this decision. At the same time, I am humbled and grateful that you showed your love of this community so much that you did make this choice. I hear it stated over and over at the board table, we need to unify, we need to engage the community, we need people to come together. And after seeing this letter, after looking at Facebook sites like Stillwater Cares, after seeing the work that Superintendent Pontrelli is doing under her direction, my response to this is, we are already there. Thank you so much. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just to clarify, in case anybody out there hasn't heard the news, we did hear earlier this week that Dr. Bob McDowell has been offered the superintendent position at Hastings schools. And so, yes, I would agree. Jennifer, you did such a great job expressing the feelings. It is a great loss. We have him for just a little bit more time. I think he doesn't actually start until July 1st. So we're going to have to work him to the bone until he leaves. But congratulations to you, Bob. We really are excited for you, and we're sad for our loss.
Thank you.
Were you coming back in? Okay, great. Yes, absolutely. All right. Director Riley, why don't we have you go next?
Okay. So Schoology has been functioning very well for us this week, and we are having an extremely positive experience with our distant learning. I appreciate all the humor and the creativity that I've seen staff bring into these. I've seen teachers in costume. I've seen teachers singing and playing musical instruments, and I love it because it makes my kids smile when that happens, and that helps their engagement, and it kind of helps get through a lot of this stuff. Classwork for us has been great. There was a little bit of an increase on about day 3, which seemed a little overwhelming, but the teachers then surveyed their students, some of them did, and they reflected and adjusted how much work they were giving according to what their students' input was. So I appreciate all of that. I think for us, it's been really a great experience. It's been pretty smooth, and I appreciate that it's all new, and everyone's flexibility and their patience and their understanding. And once again, staff has stepped up and showed how remarkable you are through this process. I would like to give a special thanks to John Perry, who has worked tirelessly to ensure technology, which is one of the most important aspects of distance learning, was in place, up and running, and he has been continuously troubleshooting to ease the transition. So thanks, John. That's all for me.
Great, thank you so much. And Director Weisberg, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
There
I
you go.
Hi. Around and I don't want everybody to have to hear yelling at Walter again. I'm sorry. I'll make this really brief. My 17-year-old is in love with this new schedule. He sleeps till about 9:30, 10 every day. And by the time he comes downstairs, he's kind of zipped through everything he has to do for the day. So the thing, and Mike and I actually talked about this earlier in the week, this is probably going to change the way we educate our students all over the world. And after this, there may be some things people really liked about it, and there may be some things people didn't like about it. So just kind of to put that out there for people to keep us informed of what's going on. I think the teachers are doing an amazing job. Everybody seems to just handle it. Nobody seemed to freak out about anything, and things are just getting done, and everybody's just rolling along with it. One of the questions that I kind of keep hearing from community members, is school going to go into the summer? Is our teachers going to have to teach longer? And I think I've given them the right answer, and that if that were to happen, it would require negotiations of contracts, correct? So how it looks now is that we're going to end the year when we are supposed to end the year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just want to reiterate too, I think you guys, we're just about finished with our very first Zoom board meeting. This is actually kind of cool. I mean, it's not perfect. I miss you guys. I would love to be with you in the same room right now. But I think this is something we can get used to for now. And I think you're right, Liz, when you say, sometimes great challenges become opportunities for us to become new in different ways we never would have expected before. And so this is kind of, it's hard and it's a lot of hard work, but it's also an opportunity for us to grow and learn together. So thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate that. And let's see, with that, we need an adjournment statement, and I have to pull up the page. So give me a second. All right. I am asking for a motion to move to close this meeting. Under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, due to the need for confidential communication with our district legal counsel related to correspondence from an employee's attorney setting forth alleged legal claims, requested action, and threatened litigation. So can I please have a motion to close this meeting at this time, to go to a closed session? Thank you. Director Riley, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Director Weisberg. All right, all in favor. We need a roll call. So Sherry, can you help us out?
Director Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pierson,
Yes.
Director Pelletier,
Yes.
Clerk Potachik,
Yes.
Treasurer Riley,
Yes.
Chair Stivlin,
Yes.
and Director Weisberg.
Yes.
You have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.
Leave meeting.